Hi, today I'm going to be drawing, and more specifically, today I'm going to be drawing the 10th version of a drawing I made 10 years ago. So, because it's the 10th version of it, I'm going to be doing something special. That being, I'm just going to give you some commentary while you watch my process. Okay? Okay, let's draw. Before I begin, I'm going to bite the bullet and spend some time properly redesigning the characters in this real quick. So in the past few years, I've gone back and forth on whether or not to give Bonsai, the rabbit figure I'm drawing now, a chubby figure or a thin one. Bonsai as a character is supposed to be pretty short, like 4 foot something short, and I think short and chubby is a better combination for a rabbit. I've been experimenting lately with shape language to try and make my characters feel more unique and expressive in their designs. So as I'm drawing him here, you can see I'm going to go with a very shapely approach. I've always drawn him with his teeth very square and his ears very square, so I'm going to make the rest of him a bit more blocky to match that. His body is somewhere between like a teardrop shape and a brick shape. His fingers and feet are very square, so on and so forthly. I changed up his face a lot. The shape of his snout is more rounded off like an actual rabbit. And I played with the idea of taking his whiskers away entirely, but it felt wrong. So I moved them to be under his cheek fur instead of overlapping it. It helps the sides of his face feel less cluttered. I also changed his eye shape and gave him bigger pupils to match those cute bunny eyes better. I made his feet longer and I switched up his nose shape to better resemble an actual rabbit as well. I gave his ears some fluff at the tips, and I gave him like a collar of fluff around his neck, because while looking at real rabbits, I noticed that a lot of them just kind of have their necks absorbed by their bodies. So, Bonsai got a long overdue redesign, and I really like how he turned out. He looks soft and huggable. But Bonsai isn't the only guy getting a redesign today. Next up, I have Bonzi. Yes, their names are similar. No, they aren't related. Anyway, Bonzi is also changing it up a bit today. Bonzi is a tiny little thing, like baby-sized, which is what that baby over there is for, proportions. I actually already had some thoughts on redesigning this guy that I drew like a month ago. You can see his head there on the left. I gave him little dot eyes and played around with the shape of his snout. Today, I took those ideas and built on them. I changed his nose a bit like I did Bonsai's, and I rounded off all his limbs because this little fella is supposed to be very round to contrast against Bonsai's squareness. I kept the dot eyes that I played with before because they help sell his cuteness and kind of make him look a little bit more like a menace. I folded the insides of his ears and gave him a fur collar just like Bonsai's. One thing I had some trouble with was trying to figure out the lighter color on his snout. I played around with it, but I just couldn't figure out how to make it look good, so I ended up scrapping it entirely. But his face looked too plain without that extra color, so I ended up giving him rings around his eyes and making his collar that lighter color to compensate. Bonzi's redesign looks adorable. He definitely changed more than Bonsai did, but I think he needed it more. He looks great, and I couldn't be happier. For the 10th version of this drawing, I just decided to take a more relaxed approach than the past few times I've redrawn this. Instead of giving it my 110% effort and trying to show off as much as possible, I decided to just make this a casual drawing. I played around with things instead of sticking to my usual brushes and techniques, and the result ended up actually being my favorite of the bunch by a long shot. But I'll get more into that later. For now, I'll just give you a minute to sit back and enjoy the show. I changed the pose big time for this version, which I've strayed away from doing too much in the past years, but now it just feels right. It's crazy to compare the first one to now. It doesn't even feel like they were made by the same person. You can see that for a while I drew linelessly, and I don't really remember why, but it was the key part of my style back then. That's what made me identifiable among my friends. That fourth year, I didn't actually draw a lot for that entire year, and when I got back on the saddle for that year's remake, I tried way too hard and it didn't even look that good. You can see a huge style shift in 2021. This is where I really started to go off the rails with art, and my style started to take shape. Over the next few years, you could see that my style kept changing a lot. My grip on anatomy and whatnot was getting a lot better because from 2021 to 2025, I was in art school. So while the designs are inconsistent, my art overall was getting a lot better every time I took another stab at this drawing. Then we get to modern day. This is my first time drawing this after graduating, and it looks awesome. Anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed drawing, and see you next time, whenever that may be.